Hi, with you here again, Naomi Stockman from my local Hypnosis. I'm a hypnotherapist and a nutritionist, and there's something that is extremely toxic, destroying our health, and I want to talk to you about that today. More and more people are exposed to it than we realize, and it's an exposure during childhood and adolescence to the chemicals adrenaline and cortisol, which are released by our body, and they activate our cells and change our physiology, our cell at a cellular level. So what's causing this exposure? They're called ACE, adverse childhood events. And studies have shown that out of the 10 most common ACEs, up to 15% have experienced more than 4. ACEs are scored using a simple yes or no test, and I will put a link to a test in the comments below. So if you're interested in finding out what yours are, just go to the comments and do the test. High ACE scores directly affect the way the brain forms. So if you have these ACEs as a child, it inhibits the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for executive function, impulse control, and learning. The nucleus accumbens is affected, which is the pleasure and reward center of the brain and linked to substance abuse and addiction. MRIs show measurable difference in the amygdala, responsible for our fight, flight, and freeze. And when this area of the brain is maladapted, it causes us to trigger high level stress responses, flooding our body with stress hormones, adrenaline, cortisol. And this can happen without reasonable cause, causing us to feel anxious, depressed, stressed. It also affects our immune system and our health, because when we're experiencing these stress responses, our immune system is immobilized. Our body isn't doing the maintenance it needs to be doing. Inflammation can increase, and inflammation is the root cause of a lot of illness. Hormone systems become imbalanced. Even the way our DNA is read and transcribed is affected. And you can imagine, say, for example, if you're producing children, that if you're under a lot of stress and you've got this issue, that's affecting that reproduction as well. There is a 20-year life expectancy difference between people with a high ACE score and those without. That's 2 decades on average less life. A person with an ACE score of 4 out of 10 is 12 times more likely to commit suicide. They have a significantly higher increased risk of cancer, heart disease, depression, drug abuse. In fact, a person with a score of 5 has 10 times more likelihood of struggling with addiction, behavior problems, feelings of low self-worth, trouble with impulse control, ADHD, depression, poor peer relationships, difficulty keeping employment, insomnia, trouble concentrating, aggression, anxiety, addiction, suicide, alcoholism, smoking, heart disease, cancer, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and an average reduced life expectancy of 20 years. That's pretty shocking stuff. It was a pretty big, long list, isn't it? And while we view all adults as taking responsibility for their own actions and choices, it can be hard to ignore that the world is a very different place for some than it is for others. And recognizing these ACE scores and addressing, hopefully reversing the effects, would make a huge difference to people's lives. So what is an ACE? You're probably wondering what your score is. There's the 10 most common ones in the test. They're the ones that have been researched. They're things like your parents divorcing, experiencing domestic violence, physical, emotional, sexual abuse, that kind of thing. Look, there's a lot of ACEs that are not tested in the sheet. You know, things like school bullying, things like accidents, things like you know, house burning down or anything like that. So this is just the basic 10. But if you're interested in doing the test, get the score, and just it'll give you an idea where you're placed. And I've I'm more than happy to answer questions. There is no reason why anyone needs to continue living with the effects of their childhood. So if you know someone who has a high score, or if you have a high score and you suspect it's affecting your or their life, there are ways to tip the odds back in your favour. I'd be happy to answer questions. Just reach out and I can answer by message. Okay, have a great day, and I look forward to speaking to you next time. Naomi Stockman, My Local Hypnosis.